Welcome to Unorthodoxy, the podcast where we question the rules, roles, and narratives we've been handed about healing, identity, and what it actually means to be human. I'm Chelsea, a therapist working at the intersection of evidence based psychology and Eastern medicine with a functional approach to mental health and healing.
And I am Reverend Dr. Sheldon Steen, a pastor and Bible scholar with over 20 years in ministry, PhD in religion, 5 kids, tattoos, and a brewery, because we believe that faith belongs in real life.
Absolutely. So here we hold space for nuance, the psychological, the emotional, and the spiritual, without pretending there's a one size fits all path to healing.
So this isn't about quick fixes or perfect answers. It's about honest conversations, lived experience, and making room for complexity.
So if you've ever felt like you didn't quite fit into the boxes you were given, you're in the right place.
So let's get into it. And what are we getting into today, Chelsea?
Well, it's been a while since we've
It's been a
recorded, so
minute.
I know,
Hmm.
yes, I know people have been waiting for a new episode to come out. So since Father's Day is coming up, I figured let's talk about the dads a little bit. Me being perinatal certified, a lot of people think of like the moms, the women, and their experience. And one of the fun facts that I love to throw out there is we don't realize that 1 in 10 men actually struggle with a postpartum mood or anxiety disorder. I call them PMADs for short, by
Wow.
the way. But yeah,
PMAD.
I'm also
Okay.
30. So, like, think about all the men that don't report it, right? So there is a
Right.
real male experience postpartum, and you being a dad. I figured this would be like a great time, a great topic for you and I to kind of just explore and riff because we are not prepared for today.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we are indeed riffing.
Mhm.
That's right.
No scripts
So
to me, sir.
so I know you do a lot of work, particularly like for postpartum women. How much of your work involves like dads in that stage of life as well?
I would say probably about a quarter to a half of them.
Okay.
Mainly because I do believe in the father's experience, and I do work with a lot of heteronormative couples.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I feel like the dads get so forgotten in the shuffle a little bit,
Hmm.
and so, yeah, I think it is an important topic. I think that, men need to do the work, and oftentimes they feel like they don't have to, they shouldn't have to. There's, like, this performative pressure that they experience,
Mm,
they feel, especially when you come from, certain religious backgrounds where I'm the man, I'm
yeah.
the leader of the home, which on
Right.
an energetic level, yes, but that doesn't mean that you also don't experience, and that doesn't mean that you have to experience alone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm curious, I can share a little bit from my own experience, of course, but like, what are the experiences or like the struggles that you're seeing that men
sure.
specifically are having, like in those early, postpartum times?
Sure, absolutely. And so I'll share the experience from a clinical standpoint, and I would love to
Yeah.
hear your experience as a father of many bio and adopted children. So
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so I think it starts a little bit before the postpartum. I think it starts during pregnancy, honestly. Women know that our bodies are going to change, and I think men don't realize the extent. And so when it starts to happen, there's like a surprise almost.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is changing not just physically, right? The physical stuff is obvious, right? And then maybe I guess not so obvious because there's some stuff that women are really quiet about. But then there's that emotional change, the physiological change. I mean, the brain structure changes, the hormone
Yeah.
structures change. And so there's a level of, I lost my wife. There's a level of,
Mm,
I don't recognize this woman anymore. And so I think a lot of men feel like they're walking on eggshells or like don't piss off the wife, happy
right.
life.
Right.
They are now overextending themselves in this very beautiful, miraculous time in a family's life, but also a sensitive time, a vulnerable time. And sometimes the men don't necessarily always have the village to help normalize their experience. So they're
Yeah.
catering to mom and baby, keep the fetus or baby, however you want to describe the baby inside, keep that happy, keep them alive,
Yeah.
keep them safe, especially if you struggle, if you're a family that struggled with miscarriage or had to go through an IVF journey. And then you have a viable pregnancy, it is a lot of pressure. And I think that the
Yeah.
dads also feel that. Yes, mom does. It's a very different experience. So I'm not
Of
invalidating
course.
at all in this
Yeah.
conversation.
Of
But
course.
today's about the dads. And so I see that starting it. And when the pregnancy is happening, it's all about mom. How's mom doing
Right.
at every doctor's checkup? What's going on with mom? How's mom feeling? Let's have a baby shower for
Right.
mom.
Right.
And usually those are all women. I think now more progressively they're doing
More
them
co-ed. Yeah, for sure.
co-ed.
Yeah.
But then baby comes, and now it's all about baby. So mom and
Right.
dad are kind of forgotten. So more pressure goes on dad to change mom and baby's diapers,
Right.
to help with that first initial, birth, and it's literally like they've been thrust almost into a caretaking role because mom's incapacitated, even if she's had,
Right.
like, a C-section or a natural birth, like, it doesn't really matter, like, those
Right.
first 6 to 8 weeks, mom's literally a bed and breakfast, and she's
Yeah.
just in survival mode, right? Like,
Yes.
you
Totally.
know,
Totally.
things coming out of orifices that didn't used to
Right.
come out of
Right.
orifices, and it's a really vulnerable period for mom, and so I think what happens is sometimes dads are just kind of stepping up, and then once we get out of that newborn phase, that's when they really feel it, and they're exhausted.
Mm.
And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, man, how did
Yeah.
we get" that's a blur, those 3 months are a blur, and then they still don't recognize their wife, because now wife is about baby, and it comes
Right.
into us, I think, a space of, "Well, where do I fit in? What about me?"
Yes. Yes.
And I guess this is kind of patriarchal of me, but, like, I full-heartedly believe that spouse needs to come first because
Mm.
we're not raising kids, we're raising adults through childhood, so what happens in
Yeah.
18 years?
Yeah.
They fly the nest, and who's there? Your spouse. And so I think after that first year of baby, that's, like, when it's really important to, like, reconnect as a couple and really prioritize the marriage, the relationship, whatever you guys have going on. But because that first year is such a mess and mom is going through mom's things, it takes an extra level. It takes, like, a little more oomph. And so I do work with a lot of couples in that journey too. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's not
Yeah.
even just, the perinatal. Sometimes it's like the reconnecting after baby, even if baby's a toddler
Yeah.
or school-aged. So, yeah, I see a lot of that, and so with dads, like, sometimes it looks like depression or it shows up as anger, and they're just, like, a lot
Yeah.
more snappy. They don't have as long of, a ro not a rope, I don't wanna call it that way, but, like, they just don't have as much to give, so they get
Mhm.
deflated a lot easier. Sometimes they'll get avoidant. So maybe after work, they pick up some extra thing or extra hours and they're not coming
Right.
home as early. So there's some of that avoidant behavior or getting lost in their phone or on the TV. So it can look like depression. It can look like isolation, anger, sometimes even anxiety. Like dads will have like panic attacks, but because they don't want to be vulnerable in that, they don't really talk about it
Right.
like that. So it shows like anger.
Right. Right.
So there's a lot of different things that I see going on with the dads, and I think men, and you can say yay or nay to this, but I think a lot of men have a hard time coming to a female therapist because they think that automatically we're gonna side with mom, whereas it's not about really siding with one part of the couple or not, it's about validating their individual
Right.
experiences and
Right.
helping them kind of see both sides and empathize with each other and come together
Yeah.
versus me
Yeah.
versus you. So that's been my experience as a therapist when it comes to dads.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful and interesting. I mean, I think there is, from my own personal experience, there is just like a lot of confusion for what am I even supposed to do here? You know, like what is my role? Like what is the job? And like it does very much become about just those like very basic like, all right, like we're just trying to help everyone survive and like be okay, like whatever that means, right? But like there is very much and the I think the other big challenge, at least again for me, but I think a lot of dads would echo this, is like particularly very early on,
Mhm.
like you said, like mom is the bed and breakfast, right? Like, and that's happening all day, every day.
Yep.
And you're just kind of there facilitating and helping out and this and that. But like there's a very clear and like deep emotional connection that baby is going to have with mom that is
Mm,
just going to be different than like with whoever the other caretaker is, right? Like irrespective of gender, whoever the primary, caretaker who, particularly if the child is breastfeeding, like it's like what is my connection even to this kid, right? Like I know I helped, make the kid. I know that I'm helping do all sorts of things, to help keep the kid alive and all of that. But that like it's just a very different emotional experience. And then like, like we know most men in our culture, like we're just not great at feeling or expressing our feelings anyway, right? And
Right.
so I think that's where a lot of that, that avoidant kind of behavior starts to kick in, is just like, is that basic just confusion of like what do I even do here? Like, who am I here? What
Right.
am I supposed to do? And is any of this, like, does it even matter? Like, I'm just kind of here for it's like, feels like for the first like couple years, you're just kind of there, like,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, I
I've had
I'll be
plenty of
here
dads
to
say, "I'm
be
just an
helpful.
accessory."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's a wonderful, I don't know if you've seen, or if you're familiar with the stand-up comic Mike Birbiglia, but
Mm,
he has a wonderful special called The New One, and it's all about like his experience as a new father, right? And he gets into a lot of this kind of stuff. It's really beautiful and it's really wonderful. Like, everyone go watch it. I think it's probably on Netflix or something. But he talks a lot about that, like that, just kind of a lack of connection. Like, you're just kind of there doing the things, and it's like, what? I don't know what, I'm just kind of a server at this point, right? Which, great, like, that's that's what we need to do. Cool,
yeah,
do it, right? But I mean, he has this wonderful line somewhere, in the middle of it, where he says something to the effect of, it's like, I never will, but like, like, suddenly I understand why some dads leave. Like, there is that sense of just kind of isolation of like, and even as the baby starts to get older and this and that, like the baby's going to be comforted more easily by mom, of course, right?
mhm,
So like, you're holding baby and baby starts screaming and crying, and like, it sucks when you can't comfort and calm your own kid, right? Like, you're like, what can I do? And then, of course, like, just grab onto the boob and baby's happy, right? Like, great, cool.
mhm.
Like, you've got this built-in mechanism that
And that boob at one point used to be yours,
Mhm.
right? Like, that used to be
Yes,
your form of
exactly, exactly
intimacy with
right.
your wife, and now all of a
Yep,
sudden it's nourishment and it's nutrition and
right.
it's functional, it's no longer fun.
Exactly. It's purely functional, right? As it needs to be, of course.
Yeah, of course. And some women are, like, all about still having, sexy
Mhm.
time, but some women who are
Sure.
breastfeeding, they're like, "Do not touch me.
Don't touch.
I am
Yeah,
touched out.
absolutely.
This baby's been
Yes.
sleeping on me, eating on me, puking on me,
Right.
pooping on me, like, don't
Everything
it's
on me. Yeah.
done." Yeah, like, and they get done, and so
Exactly
that
right.
there's, again, more of that, like, where do I fit in space with
Right.
dad. Absolutely. It's so funny, like, as you were talking, I was, like, remembering, like, what my husband was saying, how he felt in his experience and how he felt like he was just checking boxes,
Right.
or
Right.
I'm the jungle gym, I'm just here for fun,
Mhm.
that kinda phase, and he even said, he's like, because everybody kept saying the baby looked just like him, and he's like, "Yeah,
Mm.
it's because this way the men don't kill
Right.
their young, they know it's theirs
Exactly,
because there's
exactly.
none of that emotional
Dude,
connection," right?
yes,
Like, there's
hilarious.
no
Yes.
emotional connection, so most babies look like dad.
That's so funny, dude.
Is it an
Yeah, no, that
evolution?
makes perfect sense. Yeah, absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely.
It's so wild, Do you mind, like, opening up a little bit too about, like,
Yeah.
the adoption and, like, how maybe that impacted mental health for you a little bit maybe differently than some of the bio kids that you
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and, I mean, I'm always careful when I talk about all of our family stuff, just because, like, it's not entirely my story, right? So I'll try to share from my experience without, hopefully speaking too much for other people's experience. But so, like, our situation is kind of weird in the sense that, I mean, not all that uncommon. Like, we were put into a situation where we were asked to kind of essentially step up and adopt two kids from within our family or within our existing family already, because of some issues within the family, mostly related to addiction.
right.
And so it
From
was like
extended family. You say within
extended
family,
family.
extended.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Within our extended family. And so it was one of those things where, like, for a while we saw the possibility on the horizon, but we were, kind of thinking it would never, fully materialize, whatever. Like, we're open to it, but we'll see. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, no, it's happening. Right. So it was very, like, very, very fast. So there was not nearly the amount of time. I mean, when you're expecting the birth of a child, you've got at least, 7, 8 months to prepare for that in all of the ways, right? But in a situation like this, there was just way less preparation, and everything just became like moving very, very quickly, right? So
Ugh,
we had to get a new house because the house we were living in before just wasn't quite amenable to a family of seven rather than a family of five, right? and, getting them into schools and this and that. And like they moved in the weekend before school started that year. And this was also the fall before COVID hit, right? So
Oh,
in the like those first couple of months, I mean, it was just an absolute whirlwind, and it was overwhelming. Like it just felt like I felt like we were just constantly clawing and fighting just to like get through each day,
yeah.
just to survive in terms of like exhaustion. So like a very, very different kind of experience from bringing home a newborn, right?
Right?
But a lot of the same stuff was also there. I mean, because bringing home a newborn is exhausting. There's just no way around it. Raising a very small child is exhausting for everybody in the house. And so yeah, I mean, and plus we're trying to we're blending this family, which like the kids were already close before, but going from cousins to siblings, and like they became siblings pretty much overnight in all the best ways and also all the worst ways, and so suddenly we're managing all these different, like, you know, uh, the kid who used to be the baby is no longer the baby, and now she's a middle child. And like that's a totally different experience because our two adopted kids bookend our biological kids, right? So it's a kind of a strange spread in that sense as well. And then, of course, like, but right as we're starting to feel a little bit of, kind of a like more secure footing, like, okay, like we kind of like, we're getting this figured out and everything. Ha, pandemic, everything shut down, right? So now we're stuck inside the house for a few months
With
together, which was
5
its
kids.
own. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was, dude, it was wild. So in terms of, thinking about like that whole period was some of the hardest times for me in terms of that in my own mental health. In fact, I think it was in the lead up to the adoption that I first started in therapy, not with you. That was with a previous therapist, but it was kind of preparing for all of that that finally got me to that place of like, I need to like figure some stuff out because I'm not doing so hot as it is, and things are about to get a lot more complicated. And they did, and it just, yeah, all of that stuff that we were talking about. I mean, like the anxiety and depression, and that kind of withdrawal, the tendency to withdraw from all of that. Like I spent a good chunk of COVID just building things around the house, like built a big old tree house in the backyard, built our kitchen table, some like our headboard, like just building all sorts of random crap because like I was gonna lose my mind. I was losing it. I mean, it was absolute insanity. Because again, like trapped in a house with 5 kids, all of whom I mean, they were in 6th grade or younger at that point, and they're trying to do virtual school with all 5 of these kids. Even the kid who's in VPK, they're trying to do virtual school with like 4-year-olds. Like, what are we doing here? This is crazy. So yeah, I mean, it was very different kind of experience, but also a lot of the same kinds of growing pains that come along with it, And even, like our youngest, I mean, he immediately like my wife Mary, like he is her comfort person or his comfort person, and always has been, right? Like, I mean, he wants to snuggle with her and be, curled up next to her and all of that. So it was like a very similar kind of thing. I was like, wait a second, man, like I'm here too. Like you're not even like dependent on her boob, but you like her better. Like that's messed up. Like come on, man. Like we should be boys. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that like there's a lot of that same kind of stuff wrapped in there, and I think a lot of that is just like so there's roles that we fall into that feel natural, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's what a lot of that is. And Mary is just, I mean, she's just an incredibly nurturing person. Like, of course, they would want to be nurtured by her. I would too. Like, they'd be crazy to choose me for that.
So what would you say some of the things outside of building things that helped you through that adjustment period?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I don't know. Like, nothing helped, man. It was miserable. Like,
Nothing.
I was miserable, Chelsea. I was absolutely miserable. I mean, this is why I went through like 3 or 4 different therapists at that time until I found you. But yeah, I mean, I was that was just a really dark, dark period that lasted for a solid 3 years until the dam broke and I fell all the way apart, and then was able to kind of slowly like there I can be happy. It's okay. Like what helped, I mean, eventually was like literally everything that I thought I knew about myself and the world just falling apart gloriously. That's the only thing that helped was like
Yeah.
getting to that place of absolute desperation. And then I was able to actually like lean on and hear all of those wonderful things that I've been talking about in therapy for so long, right? It's
Sure.
like you can like hear all that stuff and I don't know, there was something about being in that place of just absolute breakdown that it's like all of a sudden things start to make sense,
Mhm.
because you have no choice but to surrender yourself to it and to just like say like I'm actually not in control in the way like I've been doing all of these things to try to manage what's out here and especially like what's in here and
Mhm.
it's all fallen to pieces. Like none of it works, right? So all I can really do is just kind of surrender to all of this stuff, and trust that there is something that is there to catch me. And like, ooh, what do you know? There is. Like
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like, and you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but like it also sounds like that there needs to be a level of like just time, right? Like
Oh,
just kind
totally.
I
Yeah.
don't want to say waiting it out, right? Because but we can't always just like heal immediately.
Correct.
Like
Yes.
we also have to experience the journey of
Right.
pulling back the layers of breaking ourselves open, right? Not
Right.
breaking
Right.
down, but in a sense we're
Yes.
breaking open.
Breaking open.
And when
Yes.
you have littles or you have a new adjustment period or something like that, it's so funny you say the 3 years because 'cause I'm noticing that that's really kind of the sweet spot of
Mm,
I don't wanna say any adjustment, but like an adjustment,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
where there's that, like, 3-year mark. The 1st year is definitely, like, survival, just
Right.
survival mode.
Just get through it, man. Yeah.
And then the 2nd year is kind of like learning systems and patterns, and we're kind of getting an
Yeah.
equilibrium. And then
Yeah.
the 3rd year, it's like the clouds are starting to lift.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
we're just starting.
Yes.
And so I kind of agree where there's like, yeah, like, sometimes it's what you're doing with the time, but sometimes it's just
Hmm.
the time,
Just time.
you know?
Yeah.
It's just the time, and with women, it's the hormonal adjustment, like, you can't do anything
Mm,
about it. Your
hmm.
hormones are out of
Right.
whack, right? And so for the men, I'm wondering too, and we'd have to run a case study, but, like, I'm wondering too, like, is there a hormonal shift as well that's going on
Yeah.
too, where it's the
Yeah.
women.
I'm sure there is, right? There's gotta be.
There's
But
gotta be.
come on, it's those women who get hormonal. It's not us men. Of course not, you know.
So
Of
fun
course
fact,
never.
so I don't remember the source, so I'm sorry if I'm not citing my resource here, but they when talking about, like, women being unpredictable, that's
Mhm.
actually a really big misconception because ours is predictable with our menstrual cycle, right? Like
Yeah.
luteal phase,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
menstrual right, right. And
Yeah.
so it is in a 30-day predictable cycle of
Right.
where we're at with sensitivity or
Yeah.
aggression, whatever.
All sorts of stuff. Yeah.
All sorts of stuff. But with men, their hormones in their testicles, whatever, their hormones
Right.
are cycling throughout the day. So
Yeah,
it's a
that's right.
more
That's right.
rapid hormonal
Yeah.
cycle, so it's harder to track. It's not
Right.
there's no
Way less
rhyme or reason.
predictable. Yeah.
Less
Yeah.
predictable. And so it's
Right.
so funny when people are like, "Oh, women, you're just so moody and hormonal." Like, no, it's
Uh-huh.
actually men, guys. It's just
Oh,
more
dude,
rapid. It's
seriously, right?
rapid and unpredictable. Which leads me to my next point where I think men need therapy and support,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they need their village a little bit more than women. And I know that's
My God, yes. Yeah.
easy in the world we're in right now to say that, but I think the men do.
Yeah, no, the men are not okay. Like, I think that's very clear. The men
Yeah.
are not okay. And it's funny, like, I have never been someone who was, like, interested in even thinking about, like, men's issues specifically or, like, the healing of men or what like, I am much more of a, like, we, like, smash the patriarchy, get over it, men, like, let's work for the, collective liberation, whatever, right? I would much rather, for instance, like lead or be a part of like a church retreat specifically for queer kids than for men, for instance, right?
Mhm.
Yet, like 2 months ago, I organized and led a men's retreat, for our presbytery, for our little kind of like regional gathering of churches, because all of a sudden, like it's just become so clear to me that this is actually super, super, because again, the men are just not okay. Like this whole like manosphere, this whole broy ecosystem that is out there in social media and all across like it's just gross and dangerous, and just so very clear that men and just masculinity in general is in need of deep, deep healing in our culture because there are beautiful and wonderful expressions of masculinity, and there's nothing wrong with talking about masculinity and femininity, in these kinds of terms, as long as we recognize that these are also spectrums and that people will experience and express these things differently.
Yeah.
And, like women can be masculine and men can be feminine. And that actually has nothing to do with like sexuality or even their gender, right? Like these are things that we're so like our language is so insufficient for them, right? Because even though we're talking in these kind of gendered terms, like these are actually even beyond gender, right? And like
Yes. I
this is
love
what I
that you're
think is
talking on this. Like,
thank you.
you're
Like
getting ready to
this
nerd
is
out. I'm just gonna stay quiet and let you finish.
oh, this is wonderful. Great. This is what I love so much, like for instance, about someone like Jung is he recognizes that your gender matters only in as much as like the kind of cultural world in which you are raised, right? And so we men who are raised in a particular culture are going to have an image and an idea of masculinity that is like deeply embedded in their psyche, right? And so a huge part of the inner work that men are called to is to integrate the feminine, right? That which is missing from, because it's all about integration of opposites. It's all about, making things whole and complete. And so it is like the work for men is to like, what are those quote unquote feminine things that we have been taught to resist in our development and our growth as men in this particular expression of culture? What are those quote unquote feminine things that need to be integrated to bring us wholeness? Like, and again, it's beyond gender. It's not as simple as men and women. And then of course it gets even more complicated when we talk about like, the gender spectrum and, non-binary people and trans people and all of that, right? But again, it is this recognition that what we actually need is that which we have resisted and pushed away. Whether we call that masculine, feminine, like whatever, the language doesn't really matter, but it's a recognition of what we have pushed away and actually inviting that and integrating that into who we are as well.
Yeah. I love this. So I'm gonna even go older than Jung,
Oh, great.
and I'm gonna go to traditional Chinese medicine, and I am
There you
not
go.
TCM medicinal practicer. I'm more of like the patient of. So, anyone listening, like you probably know this a little bit better if you're a TCM practitioner. But when talking about yin and yang, right? We're talking
Yes.
about that Tao sign, right? The yin and yang.
Yep.
And the yin is very feminine and the yang is your masculine. And we
Yeah.
all have yin and yang within us,
Right.
right?
Yes.
If
Exactly.
you can't have one without the other. And so when talking about masculine and feminine, like you said, like women can be masculine, men can be feminine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's encompassing that yin and yang energy, and like the Chinese do such a beautiful job of like the mountains are the yang, the water is the yin,
Right.
the
Right.
sunlight is the yang, the shadows are the yin, right? Like, and how it just balances each other out, and it's just so beautiful, and you see it throughout nature. And so I even talk about this with my queer and non-binary and all that, like those people where we're trying to put these labels on and they're not finding a place to fit. And it's because
Right.
it's fluid. It's just
Yes.
energy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think in this, I don't know, day and age, like we're so into the boxes. Where do we fit?
Mhm.
Where do we fit?
Right.
And like throughout your life, your energy, your yin and yang is going to ebb and flow, right? Like even as a woman, I can tell you, like I was very in my yang in my 20s, like very in my
Mhm.
house, in my decisiveness, in my masculine, just very there. And then becoming a mom, I became more fluid. I became more in
Mhm.
my feminine, my yin energy, and really started to encompass that. And it's not about like softening and like, oh, you're soft. It's
Yeah.
softening is in a space where you're more nurturing and more
Yeah.
open, less of the mountain where you're unmoving. You're more of the river,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
there's just so much beauty to it. And I'm so glad you brought that up too, because I think men have this pressure to be always in their yang,
Yes.
which is
Correct.
impossible.
Yes.
That's impossible to be.
Yep.
And there's this, which as a feminist, like this is like, it's weird. It's like to be feminine and to be female is weak or bad,
Right.
which is
Right.
why we,
Right.
we give such a hard time to men in dresses. Like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
women
Exactly.
can
Get
wear
over
black.
it.
Like, right. Right.
Yes.
But that's a
Totally.
different
Yeah.
story, different topic. And then the other thing that I wanted to say when I was listening to you talk, like in this era where women are choosing the bear
Mhm.
or the
Yeah.
lion now, because a woman actually was saved by a lion.
Oh, no way. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I saw it in a headline. I didn't read the article. I just saw the headline. Like, we're choosing a
Nice.
lion now, girls, because this
Yeah,
is what
yeah, I would too. Yeah.
yeah. So in that era, when you were talking about men not being okay, instead of vilifying the men for
Yeah.
being the aggressor, think about the bully on the playground. They're the ones that are getting
100%.
they're the ones that aren't okay. And so
Yes.
I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, let's, forgive some of this stuff that this type of man is doing," but,
Right.
like, as a society, we're only as strong as our weakest link, and if men are
Mm,
acting out in this way, they're not
yeah.
okay. We need
They're
to
not
rally
okay.
around them and
Right.
get them okay. Because back
Yes.
to the protector, right? Back to
Right.
these patriarchal views, but like it's that masculine energy. What are they? They are the protector, and we need them. We need
Mhm.
whether it's women in their yang or men in their
Correct.
yin, doesn't matter. But we
Absolutely.
need
We need that
healthy.
energy. Yeah.
We need healthy men. We
Yeah.
need the men in our world to become healthy and to like
Yes.
get out of this like whatever's going on. Like we need to get through
Seriously.
this because they're
Seriously.
not okay. And I
Not
think it
okay.
is. I think it's
Yeah.
generations of suppression,
Mhm.
generations of boys don't cry,
Yep.
generations of, just stuffing and stuffing and stuffing and being beaten and being this and being that. And like they're not okay, and it's, like it's
Yeah.
so funny because I do a lot of parenting work, and, like, people are like, "Oh, gentle parenting doesn't work. I was beaten and
Right.
I'm okay." But are you?
Like, no, you're actually not. Yeah.
You're not. But are you?
Like
You're
some of
not
this
okay.
stuff is the kind of stuff we're trying to avoid, actually. Yeah.
Don't confuse gentle parenting with passive parenting. That's not what this is.
Correct. 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 Man, that's hilarious. That is so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
loved
I'm
that you
yeah.
brought that up too, like, just that energy of masculine
Mhm.
and feminine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I mean, and I think this is, like you said, there is like a lot of men can experience this anger around these like parenting issues and all of that. And anger, of course, I mean, it is like the only emotion that men are quote unquote allowed to show like
Yeah.
publicly, right?
Or happy.
And
They're only allowed to be angry or happy.
yeah, angry or happy, right, exactly. Or horny, that's really about it.
Is that
Yeah.
an emotion though? Is horny an
I don't
emotion?
know.
I don't know.
Men think it is. Men think it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. But I mean, it is like that is we are socialized in such it is exactly that is that whole boys don't cry thing. So like James Hollis, this wonderful Jungian analyst, and all over the place in a lot of his books, he talks about and he uses a lot of like men's work in particular. But he says that most men have within them a volcano of rage and a lake of tears, right? And so like what we're allowed to express is the rage, and that's what comes out. And so like underneath that is all of the tears that are not being cried. In
Mhm.
fact, I'll do a little plug for my Substack. I wrote a little piece recently about like having over these last couple of years, like I am now just like the biggest crybaby in the world. I cry every day, like easily once to 5 times a day, sometimes more, and it's great. Like it's my favorite thing in the world now. Like I love it because one of the things that I realized once I once I like started crying and was like actually feeling feelings, learning how to actually feel them and like process them and all of that. What I realized is that there was this incredible amount of anger that was inside that I was also like holding in, right? That I was repressing and pushing down. But then again, coming back to the parenting thing, like that anger never came out in public, right? It never manifested like at work or in any of my social relationships, any of that. Where it always came out was at home when I would yell at my children. And like I still like I feel like unbelievable like shame about that today. Like thinking about like yelling at these like tiny kids who were just like perfect and wonderful, and they would do something kind of dumb or whatever because that's what 4-year-olds do. And I'm
Right.
like yelling at a 4-year-old. What the hell is that? Like it's insane. Like if I could have watched a video of myself, I would have been like, that man is insane, right?
Mhm.
But again, like that is how we are taught to deal with all of the things that are going on in here, right? It's actually okay and expected for dads to yell at their kids. I'm actually a very good person because I don't hit them. All I do is yell at them. But
It's
like
so funny you
that's not
say
better.
that.
It's
It's
not
not.
better.
So they
It's
did a
literally not.
no, they did a study where they hooked little kids' brains up to read the way their brains light up, and they had people, like, yelling at them, and their brains lit up, whatever, whatever,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then had people hitting them. Their brains lit up the same way, being hit or
Boom.
yelled.
Yeah.
Same,
Not
like,
not a surprise.
same
Yeah, exactly.
no,
Because
same
you're just
abuse
putting them
response.
into that fight or flight mode, right? Like you're
Correct.
just you're just putting them into that place, and it doesn't
And
matter
The
If it is
crazy thing
actual
is you
physical
wouldn't
violence,
talk to anybody else that way.
anybody else,
Nobody
anybody
else.
else, right? Like, what the heck? It's insane. And we just think that's normal, right? And we think it's
You know why,
okay.
right?
Why?
It's generational. So, and 2
Mhm.
generations
Yeah.
ago, kids were
Right.
meant to be seen and not heard.
Right.
Not long
Right.
ago. Kids
Right.
were meant to work on the field, like an extension
Yeah.
of, you know what I mean? Like, not that that was wrong, but that's just what it was. So now here
Yeah.
we are,
Yeah.
like modern society, where it's like, wait, kids actually have emotion
Right.
and
They're
they
actually
become
whole
people.
people. Huh.
Yep, and they carry those emotions into adulthood.
Yep.
So we've
Yeah.
learned more, we've
Yeah.
studied more, and but the philosophies are still passed down, and every
Yeah.
generation's like, "I wanna do better then," right? So, like,
Right.
my
Right.
my mom, you know, she got hit, so I'm not hitting you,
Right.
right? Or
Right.
whatever, and I got yelled at, so I'm not yelling, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
we try and improve it every generation, but that's
We're
why
trying, man.
it's from the past, you know, coming back.
Yeah.
Hanging
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
Yeah, there's this, like, pressure for obedient children,
Mhm.
you know? And this is one
Oh
of the
my
things
god,
that I
seriously. Yeah.
yeah, I talk
It
with a
drives
lot
me insane.
about it. Women tend to be better about getting, like, on board with the responsive, like, respectful parenting, however you wanna call it.
Mhm.
It's the dads that really struggle. Well, they need to respect me. They need to listen to me.
Right, right. Like, they think everything is literally, like, their kid trying to undermine their authority, and it's like,
Ugh.
that's literally their job is to test these boundaries at every step of the way. Like, that's what it means to grow up, you know? And, like, you just yelling at them because they're disrespect like, that's or hitting them, like,
Yeah.
that is absolutely insane.
So it is, but it isn't. Like, I understand the psychology behind it because men
Oh, yeah,
generally
totally, yes.
require more respect
Right,
than
right.
women do. So they hold respect higher than love or happiness, right? And so when they
Yeah,
feel disrespected because they don't know how to navigate their emotions, they act out in anger and act out in aggression. And so I work on that a lot with men too, especially fathers, with this need for respect and where does that need come from? And a
right.
lot of it is because of their childhood, because they felt like they were disrespected as children because they had no voice. So I'm like, now you're perpetuating it because you're disrespecting your
Exactly,
child.
exactly.
You know, and once
Exactly
you
right.
crack that open, they're like, "Oh, shit, okay."
Right, right. And especially, like, if your life has not gone in the ways that you had hoped it would as well, and then
Mm,
so suddenly you don't feel the respect you feel like you deserve at work, and, no one's recognizing your what you're bringing to the table and this and that. Like, if you live in this isolated existence in which you're defining your worth by all of these external things, you can't control so much of that other stuff, but you can at least try to control if your kid respects you, and the only way you know how to do that is essentially by being a bully and a dictator,
right,
right?
right.
And I mean, and that's what I did for several years.
Yeah,
And
and you're
yeah,
not alone
it's
in that.
terrible.
You're
Oh, I
not alone.
know, I know. I still hate it.
Of
Yeah,
course, but the thing is like, you're drawing a line in the sand and you're changing it, and
yeah,
you're making the changes, and that's what really matters, that's what counts.
yeah. No, no doubt. And that's the thing is like healing is always on the table, right? Like there's speaking of like healing and time, like it's never too late either. It's never too
Mm,
late to start that healing
never.
and then to be patient with yourself because it does take time.
It does, and it's not about being perfect, it's about
Yeah.
progression, and I think that a lot of men and I mean, you're a man, it's been a really long time since I've been a man, but, like, I think men have this, like, pressure to perform and pressure to be perfect, and, like,
Hmm.
there's no room for mistake, and
Right.
I don't know where that comes from, but I see that all across the board with the men that I work with,
Yeah.
and so, like, getting them past that and realizing that the only way to learn is through mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And it is. I mean, like what you mentioned earlier. I mean, there is that tension between because there's a lot of people who, and I totally get where it comes from and why. It's like a lot of people who are just like men don't experience enough shame. Like we need to shame them further to like break them down because they are the aggressors right now. Like they are the ones doing all of the and have been for a few millennia now at least. They're the ones doing all the terrible things. And so like we shouldn't act like there in other words like there's this like resistance to have any kind of compassion or empathy for men particularly who
Mhm.
have those ideas or doing those terrible things, which again like I get like it's not easy or fun to have empathy for essentially your oppressor, right? Like I'm not saying that you have to either, right? I'm not going to tell anyone how they have to feel, but I do think it's worth kind of sitting with that tension of like recognizing that the only way for that behavior to change is for those people to experience actual healing, which again, it's like we're not going to experience healing by yelling at each other through it, right? Like we only experience healing through that experience of compassion and empathy and connection, you know? So
Humanity.
that humanity, exactly, exactly. So yeah, I mean, but again, it's like it's a really tough balance because some of these men, a lot of these men are just harmful, you know? Like it's not it's not the people who are having harm being done to them. It's not their job to love those men into being better people. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that's why I think it's up to us men in particular. Like that's why all of a sudden I'm like, well shit, I guess we got to do men's retreats now. Like I don't want to freaking do that, but like I feel like we have to. And by the
Yeah.
way, it was an amazing time. Like it was
I know.
beautiful. It was so cool. Like I can't wait to do it again
I
next
guess
year.
my question is then, how do you get the men that are doing the harm to go to these retreats?
Yeah, that's the hardest part. I don't know. I don't know. And even too, I mean, some of these, you know, like male spaces too, like they're toxic in their own ways, you know? Like there's a lot of these that like look like they're trying to do this cool kind of man's healing kind of thing, but then it's like you're just doing weird alpha male stuff out in the woods still. Like how is that healing? I don't get that. Like cool, you're eating
Maybe that's
raw
a good
meat
entry
for
point,
3
right?
days.
Like, it's
Yeah.
not as
Maybe
woo-woo.
Maybe, I don't know, man. I'm like, "No, you just gotta come hang out with me in the forest and cry for a few days. I promise you, you'll feel better."
Yeah, instead of screaming in the woods, we're crying in the forest. This is great.
That's right. That's right. It's the best, dude. It's the best.
It's so funny, we went from, like, the father's experience to just the overall male experience. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, they're you know, you can't untether them completely. But no, I mean, I do think a lot of those, the issues that men face as fathers just stems from so much of just what it means to be a man
Yep,
in our culture today. And I think it's worth saying that like there's all this conversation around like toxic masculinity. And I think what we're saying here is that masculinity in and of itself is not toxic and doesn't have to be. There are beautiful and wonderful and even tender expressions of masculinity.
absolutely.
In fact, like that was one of the things that we talked about at that men's retreat is like as we thought about the men in our lives who have had the greatest impact and have meant the most to us, it is men generally who have that wonderful balance of like that kind of strength and protector energy with this tenderness and this kind of softness as well. And the tenderness in no way takes away from the strength.
Yeah,
It actually makes it stronger. Like that's the irony of the whole thing is
yes,
like it's a strength that you can actually trust. It's a protection that you can trust
right.
because you know that there is that tenderness, there is that love, you know, and that grace behind it.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to, like, a really surface level example of, like, anyone can just punch you in the face, but it
Yeah.
takes reserve, it takes patience,
Yes.
it takes maturity to know when and to,
Yes.
like, hold back and
Right.
not just, like, go around punching people, but, like,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And that's that balance that I think that you're talking about, like, you don't always have to act on that, like,
Right.
initial, it's
Yes.
picking
That's
up.
what martial arts are always about, right? Is like learning how to use this so that you hopefully never have to use it. You know,
Right.
like that's the whole point.
Right. Yeah. So back to that masculinity, being the protector,
Yeah.
being that person, but hopefully never having to tap into it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah.
I don't know why I keep thinking of like lions. Like they just chill
Yeah. They're so chill. That's
until they
right.
do.
That's right. That's right. And by the way, like every woman who says that she would choose the bear or the lion, like you're 100% correct. I would too. Like that's the right call. Like we know how to deal with wild animals. You know, they're actually kind of predictable in a way
Mhm.
that human males are not. So yeah, that's the
Especially
right call.
today. Well, no, I don't want to say especially today. Never mind. I take that
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Looking at history, it's always the
yeah.
male.
We haven't been great for a while. Yeah, yeah.
Right. But it's not all men because we have
No,
Sheldon
no, of
Steen
course
here
not.
who is
There's plenty of great men out there. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yeah, we need some more of them to go viral on TikTok, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't know how this stuff works.
you know. Well, I mean, not to like add more time to our already 50-minute podcast,
Yeah,
but like then it goes back to how are we raising our boys?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do another parenting podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for spending time with us on Unorthodoxy.
If something in today's conversation resonated, we invite you to sit with it, not to fix it, not not to rush it, just to notice what it stirred.
Yeah, healing isn't about certainty. It's about curiosity, compassion, and staying connected with yourself.
And you don't have to have it all figured out to be doing meaningful work. Also, make sure you like and subscribe and share with your friends.
Absolutely. So we'll see you next time.